Welcome to the Truckers Network radio show on tncradio.live, where we offer the news, weather, traffic, sports, information, and entertainment our commercial drivers want to hear. I'm your host, Shelley Johnson. Speaking of entertainment, who doesn't love Bond? James Bond. And what men don't secretly want to be? 007.
Hello, I'm David Hedison. I played the role of Felix Leiter in 2 James Bond movies, Live and Let Die with my good friend Roger Moore, and License to Kill with Timothy Dalton. It was in the capacity of Felix Leiter that I was invited to the SpyFest convention held on the Queen Mary ship in 2003, and that's where I met Paul Cariazzi, who opened and closed the show, teaching the audience his James Bond lifestyle techniques. During the convention, I happened to ask Paul where I could get some water. Well, since I was busy signing autographs, Paul said he'd bring me some. When he came back with a couple bottles of Avion, he said, "Here you go, David. I had them laced with rum." I laughed, and I said, "Rum? Why not brandy?" "Because laced with rum was what you ordered when you were the Fly," Paul said, referring to my role in the original Fly movie. "Oh, yeah, I said, I remember." A few years after SpyFest, Paul asked me to play a role in his audiobook production of McKnight's Memory. It was at the recording studio, when we were reminiscing about SpyFest, that he invited me to introduce this CD production. He gave me a copy of the book to see if it was in keeping with my personal philosophy. His book contained many similar techniques that I'd used to survive as a freelance actor, from the time I did my first movie, The Enemy Below, with Robert Mitchum. Remaining serious and vigilant with my career got me more roles in the movies, my TV series Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea, the Bond movies, and many satisfying roles on stage, screen, and TV. It's a career that I still enjoy to this day. A career of any type takes continued attention, planning, and development of skills, as well as a strong work ethic. My first acting teacher at the Neighborhood Playhouse School of the Theater was the late Sanford Meisner. He said, "Believe in yourself. Be kind to others. Always be prepared. Never give up. And always get a good night's sleep." To be an interesting actor, he said, hell, to be an interesting human being, you must be authentic. And for you to ever be authentic, you can't be concerned with what others think about you. In other words, you must embrace who you really are, warts and all, so the real you can show up in life. Do you have any idea how liberating it is to make friends with yourself? Well, that's what we're here to do. You know, I backed up James Bond on 2 of his missions, playing Felix Leiter, and I wish I could be there with you right now to back you up on whatever mission you're planning for yourself. I wish I could help you navigate the challenges that will come up as you move forward toward your goals. However, I want you to know that no matter where you are listening to this, I wish you the success and an exciting lifestyle that I know you can accomplish. So please think of me, Felix Leiter, if you will, backing you up. And I know that the techniques in this program will get you onto the mission that is right for you and help you complete that mission successfully. Now, in signing off, I'll leave you with the words I said to James Bond in Live and Let Die. I just know that you wouldn't pass up a chance to get where the real action is.
I have Paul Cariazzi with me today, who's written the book you just heard about. It's called How to Live the James Bond Lifestyle. It really is a tutorial for all successful men. This James Bond tutorial by Paul is super intriguing. There's so many men who've grown up emulating 007 in their minds, and James Bond has become an iconic figure and an entertainment empire in the movie industry. James Bond is beyond cool. He lives an exotic lifestyle, has really neat toys, always comes out on top, and he catches the eye of beautiful women all along the way. But being like him is no doubt more than just having a martini that's shaken but not stirred. I wanted to know more about how to have the James Bond lifestyle, so I asked Paul to be on the show with me. Thank you, Paul, for being with me today. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thanks for inviting me, Shelley. I'm talking to you from Japan, where they filmed the James Bond movie "You Only Live Twice" with
Oh,
Sean Connery.
what a great movie. Oh, my
Yeah.
goodness. So, before we discuss your really terrific book, how about you tell our listeners more about yourself and then what inspired you to write this book?
Well, at 8 years old, I was watching Disneyland television, and they showed the making of 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, and it was right then at age 8. I said, I want to make movies too, and I continued on when I got older. Around age 15, I started making 8 millimeter action movies with my friends, and then I moved up to 16 millimeter in college. Went to film school, San Francisco State, majored in film, and then went into the Air Force in the film department for 4 years, filming missile launches in Vandenberg Air Force Base in California. And when I got out, I filmed my first feature in 35 millimeter Technoscope. And unfortunately, I shot it in black and white. So that was my first failure. And interesting, Walt Disney always said it's good to have a big failure when you're young, but it's easy to say, and it was tough. I had a lot of debts, and so at that time, I started. I happened to see a success book called "The $1 Million Secret Hidden in Your Mind" by Anthony Norvell,
Mm-hmm.
and from then on, I started studying all the success books I can get my hands on, and by chance, I was able to take 3 months of classes with Anthony Norvell in Hollywood. So then I was always intrigued by James Bond. In high school, I saw Dr. No, the first James Bond movie, and I immediately got into judo and karate very seriously, 3 times a week. But that was the superficial Bond. Later on, I saw the Bond is cool under pressure. When other people fold, Bond focuses. He's able to call up his talent at will, deliver on a deadline. So that's when I started to study the aspects of James Bond. So the whole time I was trying to go up levels in my film career, and that's why I studied those techniques. And I got a book called "The Way You Wear Your Hat." It was about Frank Sinatra, and I thought, oh, this is the Frank Sinatra lifestyle. And I thought, well, what about the James Bond lifestyle?
Mm-hmm.
So it was 1998. I coined the phrase and recorded the very first audio book of it.
That's marvelous. So, in a way, James Bond was somebody who was an inspiration for you as you went through your career.
Oh, very, very much. And of course, he's not only a man of action, he's a man of leisure and prosperity. And that's what I think attracts a lot of men before a mission. James Bond is in a nice casino, or he's in a resort. Other heroes, Rambo is out in the jungle, or he's in prison, or walking the road broke. So that's why men like James Bond. It's that leisure and prosperity in the casinos and the luxury hotels by the swimming pool where we see him in Goldfinger. So that's another reason men find that lifestyle attractive.
Oh, absolutely. Well, he's debonair, he's sexy, he knows just the right thing to say. He impresses the ladies. He was just the most perfect man.
Yeah, and on a mission, he never breathes a word about giving up. You never hear him say, I'm gonna quit." And perseverance, as I learned, is the number one aspect of success of reaching any goal. You have to have perseverance. And Bond has it. He shows it in every movie, and there's always a deadline. And like I say, he can deliver on a deadline. It's easy to deliver when there's no deadline because you can take your time, but on a deadline, that's when you have to focus and be cool, like James Bond. That's what I had to learn. Lots of personality things, controlling the personality, and uh, there's personality blocks, and that's usually fear, and that keeps you from going after your goals. So that's what I studied a lot about, and that all of those aspects are in the course.
Your course is just fascinating. And I know our listeners want to learn more about it, but we do have to go to break. Stay tuned right here on the Truckers Network radio show. You'll learn the James Bond lifestyle and some of the tips and tricks of the world's most intriguing man, 007. Stay tuned. TNCRadio.live is proud to carry the Steve Summers Overnight Drive Show. TNCRadio.live is dedicated to commercial drivers. We offer the news, traffic, and weather you need, and the entertainment, sports, talk, music, and celebrity interviews you want to hear 24/7. We have original shows and trucker podcasts that feature some of your favorites, like Ice Road Alex Debogorski and America's Truckin' Sweetheart Marcia Campbell. TNCRadio.live is convenient and designed for professional drivers. The best part is we're free, and you can listen anywhere you are on the road. With just one tap, you can tune into Steve Summers and us right on your phone. Simply download our app by going to app.tncradio.live. That's app.tncradio.live. Did you know that 80% of America's communities rely on trucking alone to deliver their goods? The trucking industry keeps America running thanks to the 3.6 million professional truck drivers traveling over 300 billion miles a year. Industry movement Trucking Moves America Forward, or TMAF, tells the story of trucking and its positive impact on our economy, communities, and lives. Learn how you can be part of the industry movement working to build a strong image of trucking by visiting truckingmovesamerica.com. Welcome back to the Truckers Network radio show on TNCRadio.live. I'm Shelley Johnson, and I'm speaking with writer-producer Paul Cariazzi. He's the author of How to Live the James Bond Lifestyle. So, what is your book about, and how do you go about studying a fictional character? Because obviously, you had the references from the movies and the books and that sort of thing, but that would have taken a lot of research to really analyze James Bond.
Yes, it's how is he cool under pressure? And the only way you can do that is by controlling your emotions. The personality, I learned, is made up of three things: the body, the mental, and the emotional. And it's the emotional that takes us off the track. And then I talked about the personality blocks, which is fear, but there's also personality pulls. Those are the two things. And you're pulled away. You want to train and exercise, but you're pulled away by having some pie and ice cream, or you want to go to the gym to work out, but your friend says, "Hey, let's go cruising." So those pulls pulling you away from your goal, and they're emotional. So that's why I learned a lot about dealing with emotional aspects of the James Bond lifestyle.
What I find interesting is this book was originally a course that you taught at the Learning Annex and Spy Fest.
Yeah, that's true. When I first, what happened, I was getting some success with movies. After my first movie failed, the black and white one, I was hired by a martial arts star named Ron Marchini to write and direct a feature film with him. And that one became very successful. That was picked up by a mini major distributor, Crown International, and it went worldwide. It opened up in 50 theaters in Southern California alone. And
Wow.
so that was my first success. And then I went on to another movie. Well, people started to ask, Paul, how do you survive as a freelance and you make movies? And so I start teaching them this James Bond lifestyle attitude, and tell them about programming the subconscious mind, and aspects to take, action steps to take. And then I realized, the next day I forgot to tell that guy this something. I'd call him up. You have to do this too. So then I thought, I think I'll write it up and get it all down on cassette tape. So the first thing was a 90-minute cassette tape.
Hmm.
Then there was more aspects that I learned and studied. So 90 minutes wasn't enough, and I did a 250-page book. And that's when the Learning Annex invited me to teach the 3-hour course, which I did San Francisco, Hollywood, and even taught it in Japan in English using a translator. So it started with the 90-minute cassette. Then as it got more popular, I went into a 8-hour audiobook, which I recorded in a studio. Being a movie producer, it just wasn't me talking. I hired 40 different actors and friends to do voices to keep that 8 hours entertaining, added sound effects, added music. So that became popular. So then one more time when the technology got bigger with the cell phones and Uber. So that's in 2015. I wrote the Spectre edition of the James Bond lifestyle. And I wrote it from scratch, everything from the book, the audio book, and everything new and cell phones. Plus, I was a better writer years later. So the 2015 Spectre edition, because Spectre, the movie, James Bond movie Spectre, was released at that time. And that's the ultimate book that I have available now.
And it's totally amazing. Now I'm seeing there are 21 rules of the James Bond lifestyle. Did you want to cover some of those?
Sure. They say you teach best what you need to learn yourself. And I wrote those 21 rules in the original 1998 for the original 90-minute cassette, and I never changed them. And rule number 1 and rule number 21 are rules that I was always breaking because of financing projects and living the freelance lifestyle. Rule number 1 is I never run out of cash. Rule 21 is also I never run out of cash. So if you pay attention to rule number 1 and rule number 21, the rules in the middle kind of take care of themselves.
Paul, we have an entertaining excerpt that pertains to your rule number 1, never run out of cash, from your book. I thought we'd play that for our listeners. It's an interesting perspective, and it really proves why James Bond's always successful. He never runs out of money. Rule number 1.
It's better to have cash and not need it than to need cash and not have it.
Wayne Newton sweats it out.
I'll further illustrate with Wayne's horror story instead of one of my own. In his younger dating days, Wayne was performing in New York and took out an important date to dinner. He ended up in a Broadway Denny's restaurant with her. After finishing the main course, he realized that he didn't have enough cash to pay the upcoming bill. Being on his first date with her, he wasn't about to ask her for a loan, so he excused himself, went to the payphone, and called his brother. He explained the situation to his brother and told him to bring cash to the Broadway and Fifth Denny's restaurant. The plan being that when his brother got there, he would signal Wayne from afar, and Wayne would secretly go get the money. To stall for time, Wayne kept the young woman entertained with conversation and dessert, all the while sweating it out, waiting for his brother to arrive. To make a long horror story short, the brother was long overdue, and Wayne was running out of small talk and figured the girl was wondering why they were hanging around there for so long. Finally, an hour later, Wayne sees his brother signaling him from behind the girl at the back of the room. Feigning another trip to the restroom, Wayne went over to his brother.
"Where have you been?"
Wayne asked, desperately grabbing the cash.
Do you know how many Denny's there are in this area? Each one with 3 floors. There are 5, and I've been to all of them searching for you.
If you chuckle at this story, just put yourself in Wayne's place. Now, not so funny.
Desertless in L.A.
When I recorded my audiobook, How to Live the James Bond Lifestyle, my sound mixer did a great job of recording, but was not so great on listening to content. That same night, he took his wife to a buffet restaurant with enough money for food, but didn't realize that pies and cakes cost extra. Because the restaurant was cash only, he and his wife went without dessert. The next day at the remix, he said to me, "I should have paid more attention to what you were saying about carrying cash than what the sound levels were." These stories are light and humorous, and no one got hurt. But you can imagine other serious situations where money could make the big difference in the safety of you and your loved ones. So carry enough cash to get the job done, be it on a date with your new Bond girl or getting your family to a hotel during a flash flood. How much cash will you carry? You don't know how much cash you'll carry. That's how much cash you'll carry.
George Hamilton learns how to act rich.
Paul, I love it. These are some pretty entertaining stories with some really good messaging. What are your other rules?
Well, I'll tell you, very important. Rule number 2, I accomplish, learn, give, and enjoy something every day. Now, if you think about that, if you do that every day, you're going to have a satisfying, productive day, because every day you learn something, you give something. It could be a gift, it could be an encouraging word, a phone call to a friend, and you accomplish something. They could be small things like getting something to the post office, even doing your laundry, or bigger things for your career. And what people usually forget, they'll do those things. What they usually forget is to enjoy something. You got to enjoy something. It might be a book you're reading, or if you like jogging or training, there should be an hour for yourself where you can enjoy something.
Then there's the James Bond rule number 3.
Yeah. My base of operations is always clean. It's funny. It's like some guys don't want to live the James Bond lifestyle because it's like your mother says, clean up your room. It's like, oh my God, I got to clean up my room to do this. There's a movie called Limitless with Bradley Cooper. And when that movie came out, so many people emailed me. They said, Paul, it's the James Bond lifestyle. Because in that movie, Bradley Cooper gets power, takes a pill. That's the fantasy part of it. But he takes a pill, and now he's got brain power. The very first thing he does in that movie is clean up his room. There's a whole montage of him throwing out garbage and fixing things and cleaning up his room. And he finally sits down and looks at his room, and he's satisfied. And then he goes to his next action, which is to finish his book that he started. So your base of operations is your room, apartment, house. And then you have a mission control center. That's usually the desk where your computer is. And that mission control center, that's where you put your wallet, your glasses, your sunglasses, everything you need when you go out in the field. If they're not there, you got to search for them because they should be there. That mission control center is always dusted and always clean. Now your house, apartment goes through various stages of clutter and unclutter and clean up, but that one desk area could be 3 feet by 5 feet. That is always perfect, laid out. And when you're ready to jump out into the field, everything's there: your wallet, your glasses, your keys, your money clip. So that's your base of operations and your mission control center. The book you're reading, one of the James Bond lifestyle rules is I read a book a week, constantly learning. And a book a week these days is easy with everything in audio. You can put it on your telephone. So that's rule number 3.
What's rule number 4?
Yes, for challenges, I improvise, adapt, and overcome. Now, I'd heard Clint Eastwood do that in the movie about Marines, and I didn't realize that's actually a Marine slogan.
Interesting.
So, that's where I got it from. So to improvise, you have challenges, and you try to prepare for challenges. But, I learned in movie making, the challenges, you think you're prepared, and then there's the weather, or an actor doesn't show up or something. So there's always something to improvise every day on a movie set. Adapt means have something that you change. You have to adapt to the situation. And overcome, of course, is to meet the challenge and be successful. So when there's a challenge, as I said, don't fold, focus, deliver on a deadline. So that's number 4.
Good advice, especially today. Everybody has to adapt.
Oh, for sure.
Now, what's number 5?
Oh, this one people ask me about. I dress I dress up even at home alone. They say, "What is that about? What do I got to wear, a tuxedo?" Well, no, just this rule is for when you're starting and you say, I've had it. I gotta get to that next level. I gotta hit it. So just for men, just a polo shirt and long pants and a little dress, dressed up, and could even be a long sleeve dress shirt. And then you get down with you making your plans. So yeah, get into that James Bond feeling by dressing up a little at home.
Well, and you feel better about yourself when you look in the mirror every day, and that probably motivates you. Makes sense. A lot of guys could take your advice. Now, what is rule number 6?
Well, that one's a healthy rule. I eat fruit, vegetables, drink water, and sleep. So just to take care of yourself. We all know how important water is, and a lot of guys, they like to go out all night and then 2 hours sleep and go to work. But sleep's important. Bodybuilding muscles won't grow unless you sleep, and so it's just eating. It's just to encourage to eat better.
Makes sense. What's rule number 7?
I carry enough cash and credit to operate efficiently. Another money one.
Mm-hmm.
One of the first steps of programming the subconscious mind for the James Bond lifestyle is to get a new wallet and a money clip. And these are like symbols. You realize, hey, I'm going to change. I'm going to go after my goal. Try this James Bond lifestyle. So money clip, you have cash on. If you forget your wallet, there's always the money clip, or vice versa. And I have been in so many situations, Shelley, where I ran out of cash, and one time they didn't take the credit card, and it was a big problem. And men, they always say, "Oh, if I carry too much cash, I might lose it. I might be robbed." Well, on the idea of robber, guys that have been robbed say, "I was happy to have cash to give them," so the guy would go away. And I've read from ex-professional robbers that people get, these robbers get angry if you don't, they work up all this energy to rob you, and if you don't have cash. So the main thing is, have cash to go after your mission. So very, very important. So start carrying more cash.
What's rule number 8?
I choose my contacts carefully and avoid villains. Well, we don't have villains in our life like Goldfinger or Dr. No, but there are time wasters, people that try to talk you out of your goals, people that say, "Hey, let's go party, let's go drink," just negative people. So you have to avoid those people, especially when you're deciding that you're going to go after your goal.
I would say that's very insightful. What is rule number 9?
As I mentioned, James Bond never gives up. Rule number 9, I never give up, but I can change directions. That's so important. You have a goal, but you're going after it one way and it's not working out, and then you can change directions. You can even change, job goals or career goals, but you keep going and trying to upgrade your lifestyle and become more successful. But you can change your direction that you're going in. James Bond goes to one country to find the villain, and he's not there. Changes to another country. So anyway, we have to improvise, adapt, overcome, change directions, all of that on the way to success.
Makes total sense. We have to go to break here on the Truckers Network Radio Show on TNCRadio.live. Stay tuned for more on how to live the James Bond lifestyle coming up. The trucking industry keeps America running thanks to the 3.36 million professional truck drivers who deliver everyday goods to 80% of American communities who rely on trucking for that last mile. The industry represents a diverse group with nearly half of drivers at 42% as minorities. Trucking Moves America Forward, or TNRS, educates the public on the essentiality of trucking by telling the story of trucking and its positive impact on our economy, communities, and lives. Learn how you can join the industry movement by visiting truckingmovesamerica.com. Welcome back to the Truckers Network radio show on tncradio.live. I'm Shelley Johnson. I'm speaking with author and producer Paul Cariazzi. He's written the course, How to Live the James Bond Lifestyle. It's absolutely fascinating and good rules to live by. In our previous segment, we were covering the 21 rules of the James Bond lifestyle. We left off on number 9. What is rule number 10?
Okay, everybody, there's cheap people. And rule number 10 is, I'm not afraid to pay for what I want. So if you want something and you need something, then just pay for it. If you just pay for what you want and you go after what you want, I always say, don't pay what you don't want. There's a lot of advertising talk us into having something, and we realize we really didn't want that. Or a friend will say, hey, let's go travel here, but if you really don't want to go there, don't go. But where you want to go or what you want to pay for, then pay for it. It's simple. Makes sense.
There are too many stories of people out there that are just painfully cheap.
Yeah. Yeah, there's interesting stories of Cary Grant, who always had the perfect timing to leave a dinner table with friends just before the bill came.
Yes.
Sinatra would say of cheap people, he has an impediment in his reach because he never reached for the bill. So, yeah, we see those coming, don't we?
Yes, we do. Now, what is rule number 11?
Well, it's kind of a repeat, but it's I get good value for my time and money. And that makes us think about, getting value. And if we don't see the value in it, then don't buy it. Don't spend your time, especially your time. Time and money. Money is a symbol of energy, and time is, what we got. So those two aspects we have to take control over.
Sure. Number 12 is interesting. I would say it's a really good philosophy.
Yeah, people like to circulate rumors and gossip and talk bad. When I must have been 12 years old in junior high school, I saw Mad Magazine, little cartoon in it. And there's 4 squares of this comic. And there's no words, but the first square is a boss is yelling at this man. You just see this guy yelling and there's lines coming out of his mouth, but no words. The next square is the man. That same man is yelling at the wife. The next square, the wife yells at the little boy, her son. And the last square is the boy yelling at his dog, which is the comic payoff. But when I looked at that, I thought, I've seen that in various friends' houses. And I thought, even at age 12, I thought, I'm not going to be I decided I'm not going to be part of a comic book chain where somebody, boss or somebody, gives me a bad time, and then I pass on that energy giving somebody else a bad time. I decided at age 12, which is maybe one of my first adult decisions, that I would not be a part of that comic chain. So I'm going to pass on good things. I'm going to pass on compliments. But bad, it stops with me.
I like that. I circulate all things good. The bad stops with me. That's terrific. 13 is an interesting one as well.
Everyone I meet benefits from the experience. I heard that and I thought, wow, that's powerful. And, it could be just a good word or a book you recommend or a joke or, it could be a small thing or a big thing. But if you have that in mind, you're going to have a positive energy around you and a positive image. So it's something to think about. It's when you have that in mind, you're naturally going to be more positive in your talking, but you're going to hear a lot of gossip and um, just let it stop with you.
The whole world could benefit from this particular rule. Everyone I meet benefits from the experience. Absolutely. I like that. Now, 14, rule number 14, that's on punctuality.
Yeah, and that's so important. That being in the radio business,
Uh-huh.
punctuality is everything. So I learned from Art Linkletter. He was a broadcaster. He had his own show and was a freelance broadcaster. And he said broadcasters always show up an hour early to check things out, check out the mic, wherever they're doing an event or it's at a studio. So they show up an hour early. But you show up early. You're not running to get there. And if you show up, 10 minutes early, if you're meeting somebody at a hotel lobby, you have that image of, they show up and there you are. And it's kind of an unsaid thing, and you get that reputation. On home parties, never show up early because the host and the hostess are preparing things. So show up on time for house parties, but not early for house parties. But business, it's always good to show up early, be in the lobby, for the meeting.
Exactly. What's rule number 15?
Yeah, that's I edit out negative verbalizations. That's a fancy way to say, there's a time lag between what's in your mind and what comes out of your mouth. So, negativity is gonna come, and before you speak it, you just stop it. You don't say it. So you might have an opinion about somebody, or they're overweight, or something might come, or they might be putting pressure on you, and you want to attack back and say something negative, and there is a lag. That thought is going to come, and you just stop it from coming out of your mouth. And negative thoughts will come. We're human; they will come.
Oh,
but
sure.
you think, hey, this is, I'm not going to say it.
Exactly. Don't say what you're thinking.
And here's something, Shelley. There's one ex-friend who used to say, "I don't want to say this, but," and then he would.
Yeah,
Well,
gave himself permission.
Yeah, if you don't want to say it, then don't.
My mother used to say, if you can't say something nice, don't say anything at all.
Yeah, that's the classic, and there's the good advice.
Number 16 is an interesting rule.
Yeah, on the job, I'm always professional, and on the job,
there are people today that could really use that advice.
yeah. People ask me, Paul, how do you get your money for the James Bond lifestyle? Well, the same way James Bond work. James Bond's a employee, salaried man. He's a public servant. He works, he gets a salary. So you got to work, but on the job is not the time to complain and all those personal things. You might be a little slow that day or whatever, but get some coffee and be professional. In the success classes I was taking, there was one man that was talking about, in a 30-day period at work, only 50% of the people show up. Some have sick days, got dentist appointments, whatever. And then out of that group, only 80% show up on time. Everybody's 10 minutes late once in that 30-day period.
Sure.
And the last thing is ready to work. If you show up on time and ready to work, you're in the top 10% of the workers in that department, wherever you're working for. So show up on time, and he's used the expression ready to go, ready to work.
What's rule number 17?
I'm constantly learning by reading a book a week. And now it's very interesting. Sean Connery got his Lifetime Achievement Award. I have a website, bondlife.com, and I have the video of Sean Connery accepting his award. And he said the reason, he says, I'm sure of this, the only reason I'm standing here and am successful is because at age 5, I learned to read. And
Wow.
he said reading was everything. And there's photographs on the internet, him lying on a sofa with a book, and it looks like a kind of a cheap apartment, and he's reading a book. And then there's a scene in the second movie, From Russia with Love, and there's a shot of the cameraman and the director setting the shot up. He's in bed with the blonde girl to film that scene, and
Hmm.
she's sitting there, and Sean is leaning there with his shirt off, and he's reading a book. So between setups, he in bed with the girl, he's reading a book. So shows you how serious he was. Burt
Hmm.
Lancaster, I'm reading his autobiography now, but I've heard him talk. He always tried to get through a book a day. That's what he tried to do. He wasn't able to go to high school. He joined the circus before he went to high school, so he never had an education. He educated himself with reading books. Frank Sinatra was that way too. Never went to high school, and he got into a lot of reading. So it's very powerful. And Sean Connery said the reason he's successful is because of reading. And
That's
there's
right.
something about the power of that, holding that book and the words going into your brain. There's something about it, no
Well,
matter what the subject is.
I actually interviewed a cognitive expert, and physically holding a book, not just taking it, not working with the electronics, turning the page mechanically, that actually you commit more to memory. You learn more with that. Just having a book in your hand, which is
Oh,
interesting.
very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never heard it put that way, but I could feel it. I
Hmm.
felt that holding that book. And as I said, on your mission control center, your desk that's always clean, you have the book that you are reading that week. It's right there, and ready to go.
Number 18 is also an interesting rule. I think that something a lot of people should follow.
Yes, number 18. And this is one everybody loves to debate. I'd be debating that with my dad. I tip freely, like Bond. Now, you'll see in the very first movie, in the very first scene, when Bond leaves the casino, he tips the doorman as he walks out the door. And
Hmm.
if you're going to tip, do it freely, not
Yes.
begrudgingly, because if you do it begrudgingly in your mind, you're programming your mind, I don't have enough money to tip. So if you're going to tip, tip freely.
19 is an interesting one. Not everybody follows that.
Yeah, I had that's an ex-friend, and we go to movies or go someplace, and we were producing together, so had to meet often. I usually drove, but when he volunteered to drive, once in a while, we always ended up at the gas station. And he'd get gas. And I found out later he never liked to be alone. He'd, do things. He'd always like to do things with people. And then another friend said, "Yeah, Rick, every time he drives, we always go to a gas station." He says, "Man, when I get in my car, I want to go." So that's where I came up with that.
My car is clean, filled up, and ready to go. It is a good motto.
Yeah, you never know when there's going to be a business opportunity, and some businessman or woman says, "Well, let's go to the cafe and talk." And oh, you get in and you got to move all your stuff from the front seat, and you just excuse the mess, and
Mhm.
wrappers
Mhm.
from drink, drink bottles, water bottles, and you throw it in the back seat, and it
Not a
doesn't
good
doesn't look
impression.
good. Yeah, so
Mm-mm.
for business wise, friend wise, dating, your car is. Especially the gas, yeah, you're ready to go. You don't want to pick up your date. Young men pick up dates, and then what? You're going to take her to a smelly gas station, and you pump the gas. You got
Yeah,
gas fumes on your hands and all
that's
of
it.
that. So no. It sounds simple, but Shelley, many men forget that.
Pretty much we covered all of the rules. What is number
Yeah,
20?
20 is one of the most powerful rules for living the James Bond lifestyle. We see Bond on a boat, and we say, "Oh, I like that." Rich guys, "Oh, I like to own that boat," and oh, I can't afford it. So that's why Rule 20. I rent what I need and I take mental possession of it. Now, taking mental possession means for the time you're renting it, it's yours. I mean, it's life, you know. So, what the ownership is great. You have the pride of ownership, but when you go to like Caesar's Palace in Lake Tahoe, you know, you show up and your room's ready and there's soap and shampoo and towels and it's clean and you don't have to clean it up and it's yours. While you're there, you take mental possession of it. So it's a very powerful, you know, to take mental possession for the time you're renting something. It's also good to have a hotel VIP card, the Hilton Honors, and you get, you know, quick check-in and all these bonuses, and they got you in the computer. So instead of standing in line, you go to a special place, and so it's very bond-like to check into a hotel like
Yes,
that.
it is. Yes, it is. I would say the 21 rules are rules to live by for absolute success. These are rules to live by for people. Paul, your book and course is just loaded with information, and we barely covered it here. Your chapters have some cool titles like Bond and His Cash, The Bond Personality, The Bond Girls, Your Mission, Las Vegas, Bond on the Job, and others. I wanted to feature an excerpt of the Bond Girls chapter. It's called The Ultimate Secret of Women.
I know a little bit about women.
That's what Bond said to Tracy in On Her Majesty's Secret Service. A little bit is all you have to know to be successful at entertaining a woman, especially if that little bit is the ultimate secret of women. This is a secret that's never been written about in any psychology or relationship books, valuable as they may be. The secret can be found in the Cyndi Lauper song, Girls Just Want to Have Fun. In fact, the title is the secret. That's right, girls just want to have fun. What about love, respect, security? Of course, and most guys will give them that. But what most guys forget after a few dates is that they want to have fun. They want to go to movies, the opera, restaurants, amusement parks, resort hotels, Las Vegas, shopping, sightseeing, picnics, rodeos, any place. There's no end to the list. But you can bet that last on the list is sitting home with beer and pretzels, watching the 10th football game in a row. Girls like to look forward to a planned upcoming adventure. They also like the sudden spur-of-the-moment outing. For both men and women, there is a deep psychological program that tells them if they are feeling completely loved or not. There are 4 elements. Number 1, words. They were often praised as a child, so they believe words equal love. Number 2, touch. Often touched as a child, they are programmed that touching equals love. Number 3, gifts. The same thing applies here, so the person must receive gifts to feel 100% love. And number 4, being taken someplace. This one happens to be a strong one for many women. Even the Cass Elliot song of the 70s spoke of this. Take her someplace she hasn't been before. Okay, so where does that leave you? Well, considering that the idea of being taken someplace gives many women the feeling of being totally loved, this is an all-important act. But even with that idea aside, everyone wants to have fun, and this goes especially for women. So this means that you must become the director of fun. And it's actually good news, because all you have to do is arrange the entertainment. You don't have to worry about being cool. If you take a date to a cool place, make sure she has a good time, ask her what her goals and dreams are, she'll have a cool time and think you're cool too.
A Bond Girl Speaks.
Here's an important letter I received from Jennifer of Boston.
Dear Mr. Curiozzi, I just wanted to tell you that you really pegged it with the girls just want to have fun philosophy. It's so true. That is what we ladies want, to be taken out and shown a good time. We can't stand couch potato men, and the key word is lifestyle. So many men take you out on the first few dates, and then after that, they get lazy, and all they want to do is sit on their butts and watch TV. They dazzle you at first to reel you in, but don't make it into a lifestyle. My ex-boyfriend never wanted to go anywhere, and it was one of the reasons I dumped him. I mean, give me a break. I'm 25. I don't want to stay home every night. Please, get the word out to as many men as possible because, at least in my experience, a high percentage of men are in dire need of your James Bond lifestyle advice.
She loved it, Paul.
Paul, your work is so inspirational. You've written and directed 7 feature films in your career, including Forbidden Power, which is currently out. That's won multiple awards. It's now available on Amazon Video Direct. That's a must-see. You've directed 23 stars in your movies and audiobooks, including Rod Taylor, Robert Culp, Nancy Kwan, Adam West, and Frank Sinatra Jr. You've had quite the career. Where can people find you? Where is How to Live the James Bond Lifestyle Spectre Edition available?
All that information's on my website, bondlife.com. And I bought that domain name when the internet was just starting. And the internet was just starting when I started the James Bond lifestyle. So I was able to get that cool, easy to remember name,
That's a keeper. No doubts.
.com. Yeah, I've had people email me wanting to buy it. So bondlife.com, and there's lots of information on that site and videos and that gets people started, and they can click around, and the book is available there, or they can go straight to Amazon, search James Bond Lifestyle. So those are the two easy ways to get it. But go to bondlife.com, and a lot of the information I have there. On Amazon, as you know, you can click the Look Inside book and see all the chapters, the first 20 pages or so.
Mm-hmm.
First 2 chapters is there, but you'll see all the chapter lists and the subchapter. There's 20 chapters with each one about, has 20 different subchapters in it. So the book is 377 pages and no fluff, all technique.
Oh, it's great stuff. Great information. I love it. I really appreciate you being on the show here, Paul. You've inspired some men out there. I'm sure of it. Thanks again. You've been listening to the Truckers Network radio show on TNCRadio.live. I'm your host, Shelley Johnson. Stay tuned for more great programming coming up. Thank you for listening to another great interview on TNCRadio.live and the Truckers Network radio show. All of the material you hear on TNCRadio.live, on our website, our broadcasts, or our podcasts are copyrighted. There can be no distribution without the express consent of TNCRadio.live and its partners. For inquiries, write us at info@tncradio.live. And don't forget to subscribe to the podcast of the Truckers Network radio show.